The first thing I learn is that no one here ever looks directly at anyone else. Not really. Their eyes pass over faces the way scanners pass over cargo. Efficient, uninterested, already sure of the result. It makes conversations feel like meetings held in parallel dimensions. They explain it to me politely, with diagrams projected into the air. Beauty, they say, is regulated, quantified, managed for social stability. Spontaneous commentary leads to imbalance. Imbalance leads to distraction. Distraction leads to collapse. I nod like this makes sense, because humans have also invented entire systems to avoid looking at things that make them uncomfortable. We just call it professionalism. That's when I notice her. Not because she's doing anything unusual. Quite the opposite. She stands perfectly within tolerance, posture aligned, expression neutral. If you ask the system, it would tell you she scores average in every visible category, which is impressive, honestly. I've never managed average in my life. She catches me looking and flinches just slightly, like someone who expects correction. Her eyes do something odd when they move. Light bends in them, subtle and prismatic, as if color is being politely rearranged before it reaches the surface. I smile without thinking. She looks away immediately. We're introduced as required: names, functions, relevance indexes. When it's my turn, I'm tempted to ask if accidental problem generator counts as a skill, but I restrain myself. Barely. We're meant to talk. Supervised, of course. The air hums, with monitoring fields, tasting words, before they're finished. I ask her how long she's worked here. Time is not a personal metric, she replies automatically, then pauses, but a long while. That bad, huh? I say. Her lips twitch before she can stop them. That seems illegal. Somewhere, a censor probably coughs. I talk too much. I know this about myself. Silence makes me nervous. And nervousness makes me honest in the worst possible ways. I comment on the architecture, on how everything feels designed by someone afraid of asymmetry. I joke that if humans lived here, we'd start graffiti, just to feel alive. She listens, really listens, not like the others. When she relaxes, faint lines near her temples glow softly, like stars deciding whether to come out. I wonder if anyone else has ever noticed. I suspect the answer is no. And then it happens. No ceremony, no rebellion. Just a thought escaped my mouth before it checks local laws. You know, I say, you're beautiful. The word lands wrong, not loudly. Worse, quietly. The room doesn't freeze so much as hesitate, like reality missed a step. Her eyes widen. The glow along her temples flares, then dims, like she's embarrassed on a molecular level. I start. I mean, not statistically. I just meant too late. Systems adjust. Attention shifts. For the first time since I arrived, everyone is looking directly at her. She stares at me, stunned, and then, of all things, laughs. A short, disbelieving sound. You said that without checking, she whispers. Yeah, I say, I do that. And just like that, I realize I've broken something very important. Or maybe, finally, I've seen it. They give me a handbook the size of a sandwich and tell me it contains everything I'm allowed to think about faces. I assume this is a joke. It is not a joke. It is laminated. The place I'm visiting runs on consensus algorithms so old, they've developed opinions about themselves. Every interaction is filtered, every reaction averaged, every expression smoothed until it stops making waves. People here don't compliment. They verify. They don't admire. They confirm alignment. She sits across from me during a calibration break, hands folded, posture perfect, eyes focused, somewhere just to the left of my ear. The room hums softly, like it's listening for mistakes. I decide immediately that the room and I are not going to get along. I ask her if she ever gets tired of being evaluated. She considers the question as if it might explode. Fatigue is subjective, she says. Then, quieter, so, yes? That's funny. I laugh. She looks startled, then amused, then nervous about being amused. A thin glow flickers near her temples, like a system notification she didn't authorize. I try to behave. I really do. I comment on neutral things, orbital traffic, atmospheric harmonics, the way the furniture seems designed by someone who hates elbows. She responds carefully, but her timing is off, like she's learning a new rhythm. The room adjusts its thresholds. At some point, a display behind her recalibrates. The light shifts. For half a second, her eyes catch it and scatter the color, subtle and strange, like a prism pretending it's accidental. I don't think. That's the problem. Huh, I say. That's beautiful. The word doesn't echo. It sinks. The room stiffens, not offended, just confused. A pause ripples through the ambient systems, the kind usually reserved for solar flares or philosophical paradoxes. She finally looks directly at me. You assigned no reference. I know, I say. I was going for a vibe. That is not a category. Give it time, I tell her. We invent those under pressure. Her status indicators blink, then vanish. Somewhere, an algorithm panics quietly. She exhales a laugh that sounds like relief, mixed with trouble. You've created an inconsistency. I have a lot of practice, I say. It's sort of humanity's brand. Observers pretend not to observe. Metrics attempt to reassert themselves. Someone requests clarification from a system that does not like questions phrased as feelings. She sits a little differently now, as if gravity has changed its mind about her. What happens next? She asks. I usually apologize, I say, but I'm trying something new. She smiles, unmeasured and unsanctioned. The room hums louder. The galaxy, it seems, is not sure what to do with a compliment that didn't ask permission. Neither, apparently, is she. By the third cycle, the system stops pretending nothing happened. It doesn't summon me directly. That would imply I matter. Instead, doors take longer to open, corridors reroute me through unnecessary curves, and informational displays begin offering advice I didn't ask for. One helpfully suggests approved observational silence as a lifestyle choice. She notices before I do. You're being deprioritized, she says almost cheerfully, as we walk side by side through a hall that insists on glowing slightly too bright. That usually happens just before someone is corrected. Corrected how? I ask. She thinks, gently, repeatedly, until you stop. Ah, I say, the classic. Her own adjustments are stranger. People look at her now, not openly, not with interest, more like they're checking a crack in a wall to see if it's grown. The glow at her temples no longer hides when she laughs. She's stopped trying to flatten it. That alone is probably a minor crime. We sit in a communal pause space, which is exactly what it sounds like. A room designed for not doing anything incorrectly. The system projects a conversation starter between us. Something about atmospheric stability. I ignore it. Do you ever wish, I ask, that no one had noticed? She considers this without the usual fear. I used to wish no one ever would. That bad? That empty? I nod. Humans understand that one. We just pretend we don't and invent hobbies. A cluster of observers forms nearby, badly disguised as furniture enthusiasts. The system runs comparisons, trying to understand why her presence now draws attention without any measurable change. It can't quantify subjectivity. It hates that. You should retract it, she says suddenly. What? Your comment. You could clarify, add context, reference a scale. I grin. You want me to make it worse in a more official way? She smiles despite herself. Yes. Before I can answer, the air shifts. A collective interface blooms into existence, elegant and relentless. Questions flow in without sound. Intent, deviation, impact. I feel like I've been invited to a trial where the crime is sincerity. I answer honestly. Always a mistake. I said it because I meant it. I think back at them. And because humans don't ask permission to notice things. Silence. Then discomfort. Then something like curiosity, which is apparently a restricted emotion here. Beside me, she straightens, not defensively, deliberately. Her status flickers, then stabilizes into something new, undefined. That's not allowed, someone thinks. She shrugs. Neither was I. I laugh. She laughs with me. The sound spreads, quiet but contagious. The system records it as a malfunction. And for the first time since I arrived, I realize this isn't about a compliment anymore. It's about what happens when someone is seen and decides not to disappear back into the numbers.